Okay, today I'm with my buddy Cameron Uranga, a fellow Army veteran who is in the construction industry and has been so for a very long time. We're just going over some of the overviews of what it is he does in the day-to-day working for National Claims Advisors. So, Cam, what is it exactly National Claims Advisors does for the viewers?
Well, National Claims Advisors is a nationwide law firm that handles large commercial claims pre-litigation. Most of the time when people think of insurance claims and they think about lawyers, they think, oh, they're suing the insurance, which by the business model, no. Our files are handled by attorneys. They're adjusted by attorneys pre-litigation. We want to settle those as quickly as possible because we have found, on the larger ticket items, basically claims reaching the $500,000 $1 million, usually where we start, just because again, attorneys are working the files. We have to pay attorneys. And it's the same 10% fee than a public insurance adjuster would. It's just a totally different approach that no one really has bitten off, and we've just found great success with it. So yeah, an attorney is going to handle the large commercial insurance claims, whereas what I do with Denali Loss Consulting, that's my small public adjusting firm, and we're licensed in Texas, Louisiana, Colorado, in Arizona, about to be Oklahoma, but we handle the smaller claims. We try to assist in those duties after the loss, because in an insurance claim, the insurance has duties after the loss, like hopefully paying out money so they can rebuild. But the policyholder has very distinct duties after the loss. And most people don't understand those because they don't read policies all day. And that's a public adjuster's main purpose, is to help, hey, mitigating any further damage. That's getting a contractor out there, that's tarping a roof or whatever, stopping the leaks, reporting it, putting the insurance on notice so you can say, hey, your interest has been compromised, and you need to send someone out to inspect it. And then we assist with those inspections and stuff. So we kind of do the same thing, but at National Claims Advisors, instead of me handling it, it's an attorney. But what I do on a daily basis with National Claims Advisors is verify that these are claims, and that this is damage, and that I work with contractors every day to make sure that they're gathering the right kind of data to frame the claim so it can be successful. Because most contractors is, when they step into the commercial realm, and I'm sorry, I could go all day. So
you're good, man. No, check this out. Look, man, the thing about it is, I'd hope that the organic conversation would happen, and it has. So, fire away. As far as that's concerned, we're at number 2 on the bullets. If you guys are listening, he's talking about the fact that you must mitigate risk. That's the first issue, but to make sure you have a responsibility, a duty, even as a homeowner, to make for certain that further damage does not occur. And then the right of notice to the insurance company. You have to report that incident so they can start the ball rolling and getting your claim fixed. And as far as national stuff is concerned, that's a little bit bigger. A lawyer in those systems are going to handle that, because it's going to be $500,000 and above. And so the likelihood of insurance companies settling at that point becomes a little bit more scarce. And so you want to have an attorney definitely to write that to take on that additional risk from a legal perspective. What's the third bullet?
And I would say getting into that policy. Most policyholders, all they can get to, even commercial people that own hundreds of millions of dollars of assets and buildings, they usually have never seen their policy. They can only get a hold of the 3 documents, their declaration pages, which is basically a bullet point of what you might have. It's what broad, it always says, that they print it offline off the website, and it's always, sample. So it's usually not even anywhere close to their policy.
That's the human aspect from insurance on both sides. If they're a business owner purchasing it, or if it's a personal lines individual, we really need to make sure that we are educating our people, because obviously it's important to read the contract.
It is. And that's what it is. You're right. It's a contract. And, not only does the policyholder, the residential homeowner, to the commercial business owner or property manager, you've got a set of, you got your duties of the contract in order for the insurance to hold up their contract. And again, knowing that and educating yourself. And it's tough because people don't read those those contracts, those policies that are usually 100 pages to 300 pages, depending on how large the asset is.
Yeah.
They're written by attorneys. They've been written over 100 years ago and cut pasted, and they're meant to confuse the layman person that doesn't study law all day. But having it in your hand, and then having someone like me, like all day long, I have contractors and policyholders. They'll send me a policy and say, Cam, like, can you tell me, do we even have coverage? What's going on here? Because I think that's most importantly, know what you have, sit down with your agent. A lot of time agents have never even held a full policy in their hand. They click a couple buttons and they think, oh, they're covered. And like, well, we found out that there's exclusions within the policy, excludes the entire roof because the roof is now 12 years old.
Yes.
And there's all these little, so yeah, number 3 is just having a good idea of what you've got. Just like with business management, no one's saying that you have to be a perfectionist or know everything, but know enough about finances so you can hire the right person to help you with your finances.
Absolutely.
That's the same thing. Sit down with your agent if your agent doesn't really know, because contractors, that's where contractors really utilize us for, is because they can get into a lot of trouble for illegal practice of law or illegal practice of public insurance adjusting. They can't speak on policy. They can't interpret policy. They'll get hemmed up really quick. So yeah, just reach out even to your local attorney or public insurance adjuster. But really good contractors, they know what they're doing and how to communicate with their with their policyholder that, hey, you need to get that, and start going through it and understanding what you have and what you don't have.
The crazy thing for me is, man, this is just from a perspective. I've been in the insurance hustle, but primarily in construction my entire insurance career. And I mean, I went to law school for that purpose. I want to make sure that, the insurance aspect, but moreover, construction law comprises so many different things. And like you said, people get hemmed up all the time for illegal practice of law, for failing to carry the proper, liability insurance when you're on somebody else's site, because even a roofer's agent's like, hey, you're covered on this, this, and this. Turns out, you have no premises liability. You're out there on people's sites all the time. And that's the thing, a lot of people, I've spoken to people that are just satisfied that they got a good price and that their insurance agent, gave them the traditional boilerplate. It covers everything, insurance. But really, when people are closing in on these claims, it's really important that come claim time that you're covered. And like you said, reading those more than just the deck page, finding out if there are exclusions. Sometimes you've been paying on a contract, an insurance policy for 2-3 years, and you find out when you have a claim that you don't even have insurance when it comes right down to it. So, I mean, from a homeowner's perspective, I agree with that 100%. When I went through CLCS school and I was becoming a producer, I really was shocked at kind of how droll and how much boilerplate and how much confusing language there is in a homeowner's policy. I'm not in personal lines, so if you could expand on that a little bit more, maybe some things to look for if you're a homeowner or a personal lines individual and you come across your deck pages and you want to know if you're covered.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say a very important thing to look out for is, after, usually, there's statutes of limitation. The insurance carrier has X amount of days to perform X, Y, and Z, and you as a policyholder have those same stipulations. And some of them are by state, but some of them are by policy. Usually it comes down to the policy. And you have to know that if there's, let's say, a massive hailstorm in DFW or whatever, you need, to know within your policy, how quickly do I need to have a sworn proof of loss submitted to the carrier? Because we have found where people have waited because maybe they're trying to do the insurance settlement with the insurance and with their contractor, and the contractor is oblivious to these deadlines. And they're just trying to fight the insurance, send estimates, send supplements. They approved a little bit, and they're still fighting it. Well, the insurance carrier has, they've been doing it. They wrote the book on this, and they will drag you and your contractor out to deep waters of those statutes.
Of course.
To where when you finally throw your hands up and you're like, they're playing games with us. We need to get a professional because this contractor obviously is in the weeds. And then you do get someone like me involved, and we take a look. We're like, guys,
That choose fast.
you had 30 days. You had 30 days to submit your sworn proof of loss, which is basically you saying, hey, I've gotten with my contractor. This is how much this claim we feel is supposed to be to get built back. Some are 60 days, some are 90, but some are 30. And that's a quick turnaround, especially in a disaster time, to get a contractor out there to get you a good inspection, to get you an estimate written. That's a lot of things too, is contractors out there, they play the wait game. They're waiting for the insurance to tell them how much, which is also an ass backwards thing that the insurance has, manipulated into the brains, is that they're the insurance, they're writing and underwriting, they're selling the product, and they're also going to tell you that how much it's worth. And they send people out now that are very undertrained and uneducated on construction, and they write these under deductible estimates that, again, you play this fighting back and forth, not knowing what you have, not knowing when you're supposed to have your estimates and your sworn proof of losses in, and you do all this work for nothing, and you've lost. It would have been a great claim. You got great documentation. You got great moisture meter, whatever it is. All your weather reports, everything's on point. Great claim, but you screwed it up by not just doing your part. Yeah, the insurance has a part, but hey, if you don't do your part, they ain't going to pay a single dime.
Not a dime, because they don't have to. And that's the thing. In Texas, the Texas Department of Insurance comprises one of the strongest and most powerful lobbies in the United States. A lot of national case precedent for, construction, liability claims, homeowners policies, homeowners insurance claims. There's a bunch of famous cases in the UT area. We won't go into that, but the thing about it is, we know that these insurance companies know what they're doing, and they've been doing it a long time. And so when I talk to roofing contractors, I have a few in my book of business, and the issue that you highlighted is it's a good pain point, because they do play the waiting game. Obviously, you want to get paid, you want to make for certain that everybody's moving along, but from an educational perspective, I think that's a great point, that they need to know. Like, you're in the state of Texas. If you go next door, Louisiana law is completely different. It's French common law. This is going to be common law over here, and that's the insurance contracts governed by. So these different aspects of reading your contract, man, they're huge. And I think that a lot of insurance adjusters, especially during those time periods, like, you're probably really bogged down. 30 days is a good time. Like, you got 150, 200 units to go to in a day. You gotta think similarly. Most of the agents that are in that area are going to be bogged down the same way when they're independent. But of course, your insurance carrier is going to have you guys. Like you said, they'll send some people out there that are probably not quite as in the know as far as construction defects are concerned, and then the remaining damage that would have happened from whatever the cause was. What's your best insight into what the homeowner should look for in a good contractor?
A contractor, for one that always answers their phone call, look at definitely reviews and ask, tough questions, how, as far as capital goes, because a lot of times contractors are, playing the waiting game. They're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. A lot of contractors, unfortunately, about 3 years attrition rate, because you can jump in and be very successful, and most people are not just born business leaders and understand, so they find a lot of pit holes, like not having the right business liability insurance coverages, and they end up one single mishap by an employee, wrong nail punctured through an HVAC line, and they're done, and then all that book of business where people are on, so understanding that, reading more than just Google, going into social media, because again, social media today is our social proof, a lot of times, and see how they interact with their clients. Is everything just perfect? I don't look for perfection in a contractor, because I know they're run by humans, and we all make mistakes. Even the systems sometimes can fail. So just building a relationship. If you're going to pick a contractor, pick one that you feel like you could sit down and have dinner with, and and just read them, that they're transparent, but definitely financially stable, and understand the insurance process, and know when a contractor that's trying to do it all and say that they're an insurance specialist, and they, you want to be wary of.
Yeah.
If you're going with the guy that's going to eat your deductible, guess what? He's going to cut corners everywhere else.
Everywhere you can find.
He's willing to, yeah. If he's willing to break the law, which again, insurance, I can demonize them all day long, but at the same time, unfortunately, we can't do anything without it. People can't everyone pretty much owes, money to the banks, and everything has to be insured. Everything has to be insured. The insurance has got their web, but how else? It's a tug of war. I do see the insurance do some great things, but you have to be in the know. You have to choose the right partnerships, your circle of influence, get granular with it, with your local Rotary clubs. Who do they trust? Who do the business owners locally trust? Who is consistent? All these fly by night guys, they pop up. So it's a tough.
Yeah, they pop up. Don't
they? Yeah. So that's a good question. Is find you a contractor and just do your homework. It's just like interviewing anyone else, and understanding that no one's perfect. Make sure you have a contractor that's setting realistic expectations
all day. Yeah. And that's the thing, Cam, like one of these issues that I face, and like I said, I have a few roofing contractors in my book of business, and, but these guys are personal acquaintances, moreover friends in the business. And I can safely say they stand out far and above the ones you're talking about. I mean, you'll be able to tell, and that's the thing. You should sit down, you should get into their background and all that, but you'll be able to tell probably within the first few based upon how they present themselves to you. If they talk about what you said, hey, you want to save some money, I'll cut the back into your deductible. First off, it's legal. Let's go ahead and cut the crust. It's an illegal activity they're talking about. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, that's a character issue. One of those things that I look for, and I look for it when I'm writing insurance policies, because as the risk pool, we're adverse to. And I don't want to write a policy for an individual that I know is effectively doing that for various reasons. It's bad for the environment overall. Because if a contractor is unscrupulous, they cause prices to go up for everybody. And so,
like you said, it mess things up. It makes the insurance world so much harder to navigate. All the reason why there's all this push and why the language is so obscure is because, hey, there are contractors out there manipulating the system that have kind of robbed the golden goose. If you will. That statement's not mine. That actually comes from an attorney on the carrier side. But I've seen it where it's, from the policyholder manipulating, trying to get something for nothing. The contractor, those do affect the industry. And we can work together in a healthy environment, because there are very good, positive individuals on the carrier side that I do get to work with from time to time.
Same. I'm shocked when it happens. I'm just kidding. All my people at the various insurance carriers we're aligned with, please don't.
Yeah, but you hit it on the head too, man. When you have a contractor come in, and you can tell when an ownership cares and prioritizes the customer experience, when you have a contractor come in with a process, and he doesn't sway from it and doesn't care. At the end of the day, it's about doing it right, and it's about putting people over the profit and walking away. That was probably as a contractor myself. That was one of the best things I learned that helped me as a roofing contractor, and then now in doing it's the word no and walking away. Like, nope. This is not a cold close. This is just me walking the heck away because we're not a good fit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I mean, I appreciate that very much whenever I hear it. I exercise my no muscle very regularly because, sometimes these people, want to put you in a position or they want your expertise. But sometimes they're desperate, and it's unfortunate that the people get set up for failure in that way. But we both know, not all money is good money if you have to compromise who you are to get there. And so I agree with that 1,000%. And in the roofing world, I probably got, I will say, 6 or 7 good companies that I've watched over the years. I mean, so good, in fact, that they trade management, and their process can be duplicated so easily and so effectively that when they change management, it doesn't lose. I mean, it doesn't lose that secret sauce. It doesn't lose that 12 herbs and spices. But the thing that's wild about it is, man, like when it does suck, like when they're terrible, that 3-year mark, I was going to ask you, you beat me to it, but like that 3-year mark Is that pretty consistent? You'll see them weed themselves out.
Yeah, but the thing, it does, about 3 to 5 year, but it's about three. They do, but then there's a whole new batch, especially in social media, people saying, "Oh, dang, overnight millionaires," which is so true. Like that's why, most of them that start out, again, didn't go through, business management school, didn't go through any of that, just like I didn't. And you learn the hard knocks through
Yeah.
experience and making the wrong decision. Even when you have a good moral compass, you sometimes will, overextend yourself because again, you want to grow and you overextend yourself too much to a point to where now you rob Peter to pay Paul. And you think, it's a snowball, but then people do see that, you can make an incredibly fantastic living by not knowing very much and get yourself in a lot of trouble really quick. So people see that on Facebook or on what social media, all these, overnight, they see their buddies that are driving these
Oh yeah, every
$80,000
day,
trucks or
every
whatever.
day, and it's just
And
branding, and it's big, and it's I did 15 builds, and like you
mhm,
said, one nail through an HVAC.
yeah, and not having the right, and this past year I've gotten to, sit down with a lot of, because I've been sitting down to, pick business insurance for Denali, like
Mhm.
we've talked about, and just realizing, holy crap, there's a lot of exposure,
Hold on.
like a lot, and almost to the point where, like, man, you're almost afraid, like, do I even own a damn business?
No, yeah,
Scary.
that's the nail on the head with what you do. The thing is, they think that they're going to get. I mean, and here's an issue that I face, and I guess me and my buddy Casey tossed this around the other day because he does bonding, and I mean, we're doing at this point we're doing DFW airport commercial roofing stuff with these contractors he's talking about, and I mean, when you get to that place where it's more than just that, you're talking about business structure. How do you structure your S corp or whatever you're working with, your LLC? Um, People really don't read, man, and it's one of those things where we write an insurance policy based upon your exposures, not based upon what you think you want. If you want to shop it like that, you want to cut corners, you don't want to purchase litigation insurance. No, the answer is no. Like, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I hope that whatever big box individual you go to, and I won't defame other insurance, brokerages or agencies. But the thing is, if somebody will sell you something that will place you in a compromising position, it's kind of like a good NCO told me in the Army, man. If they put you at the corner or at the avenue of egress and you backs to something, they either don't know or they don't care about it.
Yeah.
So that pretty much plays through. And one of those, real key indicators for growth is these guys just think it's going to be like an officer's policy or a personal liability policy for a person. You're not writing a professional liability policy because that's going to be for engineers, design people, professional adjusters. But what it comes down to is these guys that are contractors that are doing it. I mean, you have to have that for certain. They think they don't need anything. They think they just need to insure some business insurance on their, like you said, their truck with their branding, and then that's it. I'm going to go ahead and insure my office space. Everybody's a 1099. Well, there's a thing called respondeat superior, meaning the master answers. And regardless of your 1099 installation, you're still going to have to face that when it comes down the pipe. And you got 15 people in the field. All of them are people who are in the process of making you money. And so the Texas Department of Insurance frowns upon people that don't have liquidity enough to cover these claims, or worse, fail to buy the insurance to get them covered by litigation. So I think that what you guys are doing at National is a really, really needed service, because we've seen this happen countless times. And I mean, when I get the insurance carrier together, I'm gonna do claims management. For example, like when somebody comes with a big claim, I'm just gonna be the go-between. Obviously, we already read their contracts, done the risk management procedures and everything, and set them up a good process in place. When they come to me, that's the thing that I kind of want to set them up for, is what you said. I want to set up a contractor so that he has a process, so that he has, everything that he needs on hand, is his safety manual down to his reporting standard. So he knows, like, if something happens, you have 24 hours.
Yeah.
So tell those guys, even though they're 1099, tell those guys, you got 24 hours. Here's our standard. We do not flex on the standard because this is what keeps our lights on and our people with food on the table. So that's been a huge thing, Cam. That's a huge point. My next question, I guess, is back to National. We got a lot of things to cover, but on National, how'd that come about? Like that it became a law firm, a national law firm that just started handling these claims and employing professionals like you in the field.
Well, I think it just came out of just necessity, just through observation, because National Claims Advisors is actually owned by a litigation law firm, Daly and Black. So they see a lot of the troubles when they see claims that come to their table, and they turn away most because they haven't been handled correctly on the front end, on during pre-litigation, and they have seen that they could have been very easily sometimes if people were educated and working with the right contractor, or handled by an attorney, someone who is highly educated in policy, in law, in statute. So yeah, that came out of just necessity, and it's been working fantastically to have someone on the side, having an actual attorney that on the very front end, when these are getting looked at, it's no longer just being looked at by just a contractor. It's got the eyes. I'm out there with a contractor, and everything's being sent to an attorney who's on in real time taking a look at all this and reporting. Everything is done by the book, by the duties after the loss, and it's just came out of necessity. And luckily, the people that pull this together are people within the industry that I highly respect and care about. And of course, when seeing the pitfalls and the challenges with Denali Loss Consulting, that's when I was approached, and it was just a no-brainer that yes, I'm done trying to handle these million and multi-million dollar claims on my own, because I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the capital. I can't fight the carrier out in those deep waters. That's a lot of, because I have to hire professionals as well and experts, and can't do it alone. Just like with Denali Loss Consulting, our motto is you're not alone. You're not supposed to be alone. We were never, we're a tribe. We're pack wolves, if you will. We forget it a lot in this society, but we're never meant to do these things alone. And especially when you're up against very deep opposition, it was just a no-brainer for me that, of course, I want the biggest, piece of the pie, as long as it's a win-win-win for everyone. But it was just spinning my wheels. So when I was approached with this opportunity to join forces with National Claims Advisors on the commercial $1 million and upside, it was a no-brainer, because I knew the way everything is going in the environment, attorneys, I believe, need to be involved as soon as possible. Be taking a look at these policies. Do we have, these policies now, instead of me just getting to look at them, I get to send them to my attorneys, and they're educating me, and I'm growing by the minute by the information that I'm gaining from these guys. So it's just been a really epic solution that we're just finding great success in. So it's been a lot of fun.
And offline, I'm going to ask how it's structured and all that good stuff, because I need to know. But yeah, it sounds fantastic, and it seems like it does seem like a no-brainer. It seems like something that should have been along a while ago. But I'm sure that they took their time with it and structured it the way that it would work best for the client. So that's the thing, man. I tell people the same thing on the contractor end. When your agent or your broker or your attorney, for that matter, when a claim happens, where are they at? If they're not there, like you said, if they leave you alone, if they leave you high and dry, they just say, hey, yeah, you paid your premiums, here's your deductible, God be with you. That's one of those unfortunate side effects of not knowing. And I think that it's funny that you said, we were talking about the 3 to 5 year window. I mean, I think that is mostly linked to insurance claims, because they're making all that. But then again, like you said, robbing Peter to pay Paul, liquidity does it to the ones that doesn't occur to. But when it comes to all contractors, when it comes to anybody that deals with an insurance claim, construction defect, the list goes on. It'd be nice to go ahead and have somebody on the front end, just like the big insurance carriers have, to make for certain that we're reading the contract from cover to cover.
Yeah, for sure.
So on the other end, man, let's catch up on just general lifestyle. What motivated you to start Denali?
Well, after spending 13 plus years as a insurance claims professional as a roofing contractor, whether it's, cells, started from door knocking to cells to project management to even owning my own small roofing company and failing because it's a lot, like all the things we just talked about. I was not ready at that point in time. I learned and, got back in it, boots on the ground. But it came out of necessity. My whole goal, regardless of what anyone wants to say, is the policyholder, putting them in a better place. And, growing up, we've known each other since we were kids. I love everyone, but my dad deemed me the bully beater, as a kid. Going to 15 different schools, I always had to be the new guy. I always got bullied, because I was funny as heck and, made friends really quick. But the guys that were, of course, insecure and were the bullies, they targeted you. And I hate bullies, or they targeted other people. And of course, I always got in trouble for taking up for, the smaller guy, even though I was a smaller guy for the longest time. But so, yeah, I took it as a charge, man, just like being an Army military police officer. David and Goliath, there's a lot of big people out there that do a lot of harm. And I just want to make sure that I can do my part on this planet to help protect somebody. And as a roofing contractor, I was losing my battle with being able to get people built back in because there's so many roadblocks, trying to do it the right way. And so it was just a no-brainer for me. Like I wanted to become a public insurance adjuster so I could argue policy. I could hold people, the carrier to their contract. And then even with that, so I started, Denali Loss Consulting, and then it immediately found, big roadblocks with handling, especially the larger claims. And that's what led me to, cut out my selfish side of it. Like, dang, I'm not going to own all this book of business. You know what? That's fine. At the end of the day, all I care about is the policyholder getting put back together again. Because all too often I've seen them be hurt in the time that they need the coverage, the protection they felt they had in that moment in their time of need, and they don't have it. That whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, a fire, it sticks with you. It's like you having PTSD from those experiences. From working Hurricane Ida and New Orleans, Hurricane Ian, to fires, to tornadoes. A piece of those people go with me everywhere. Because it's devastating. It changes people's lives forever. And then when they feel like they don't have any protection, anyone that has their back, that's a cold reality to sit in.
Yeah.
And I just want to provide people with as much, shield protection, love, and whatever I've got to do, I'm going to help you. And, again, people over profit. And that's just for me all day long. At the end of this life, I want to leave that behind.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I mean, you already know. I think we met under similar circumstances.
Yeah, brother, we did.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Because I mean, it's like this, man. I think that what you said is a perfect dynamic or a perfect demonstration of universal law. If it happens up here, it's going to happen down here. And the unfortunate byproduct of that and of having knowledge of that is that you have to make those decisions. And I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that wherewithal, or just don't have that motivation whatsoever. The insecure bully, if you will, doesn't see it that way, and that's fine. And I mean, people are accustomed to that. People are so accustomed to it, they become callous. And those things also impact, the homeowner or the purchaser of an insurance policy the same way. You become so used and so averse to speaking with somebody that sometimes you just tune out the fine print altogether. And the thing is, it's incumbent upon us to go that extra mile and say, hey, I care that you didn't. Are you sure you understood that part? And as an attorney, I got a fiduciary duty nowadays. But the thing is, I wouldn't have it any other way. The construction industry is high exposure, high risk. People die. People go through a whole lot of different financial deaths, if you will, from not having proper coverage. And when you see this happen to a homeowner, man, like especially when it was down there in Houston, when I went out there, I remember like watching your efforts out there, watching New Orleans, watching all the times where you guys are going state to state. So I appreciate what you do. because at the end of the day, that's somebody's mom, that's somebody's dad, that's somebody's family, and home is the heart. Home is where we all build as a tribe. It's microcosmic, like I said. As it happens in the insurance markets, we're seeing that happen in Middle America and on Main Street. And so we want to make sure we take care of the breadwinners and the people that put food on our table. Also, I think people forget that. I think people forget a lot of times that it's the American, policy holder that actually puts us all to work at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's, again, like why I think people detach themselves when they think, I work, especially with national claims advisors with multi-million to even billion-dollar asset owners. And they're people too. They implore people, those buildings that are damaged, they're losing business from. That's putting people out of homes, out of work.
Yep.
Like you said, microcosmic, it all inter affects everyone. So the business owners and property owners are just like you and I. I think a lot of folks that maybe don't own business or never, there's a separation, I think, mentally when it shouldn't be. We're all human.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I've got, multi-million-dollar claims going on right now, or, you have a property owner who he's like, Cam, with timing, if we can't get this buttoned up, I'm going to start losing this. I'm going to get kicked off of this insurance, and and I'm going to have to sell this for pennies on the dollar, and it affects, and that affects the people that work for them, and so yeah, it all is a cycle of life. Doesn't matter how big the ticket number is. We're all people at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that. I guess that's excuse me, stuttering here. Guess that makes it to our last. My really big impact question is, what's the big drive for you? I know that you barely get home long enough, from what I understand, to change clothes and pack a bag most days. You're on the road constantly. What drives you towards keeping that level of excellence, keeping that level of commitment to the people that you serve?
Well, I just feel it's my purpose. Again, I carry that with a badge of honor. Like, even though I'm not in the Army anymore, I still, that uniform is just skin deep, just under the surface. It always will be. Doesn't matter what I do. And growing up the way that I did, and and making early mistakes and challenges, and making focusing on and having the wrong people in my circle of influence, it can slow you down. So there's I'm sure the subconscious of, man, I got to make up some time. I've got a legacy that I want to show my kids, that you never quit.
Ever.
And it's always, we're not supposed to do this alone. And if you think you're alone, just reach out and just talk to somebody and ask the questions. You might just find out that there's the same things are going on, if not worse, and everyone else out there. So what just drives me is, I've been blessed by people like you and by other people that have made me feel so alive and beautiful when maybe I didn't feel that way inside. And so I want to make sure that I can have that effect on other people, that when I leave this planet, people know that I fought for them, and I loved for them, and I lived for them. And if I have to, I'll die for them. And so it just feels like it's just my purpose, man, on every inch of this life. It's just to serve people and to be helpful.
I love that very much, man. I love you to death, bro. The thing is, we went through what Kevin was saying earlier, both of us kind of had the run. So each of us went to like 10 schools growing up, because my mom was military and he moved around a lot. We met each other kind of around the same time. I guess we came to the same city, same school. And I'll say this, having a similar background of service and going these miles, and knowing that, there are people out there to help. There are people that aren't consistent with this, this dominator culture, bully mentality that people tend to think is what is necessary to succeed. You can succeed by leading with love rather than leading with fear all day. And it's incumbent upon us to make that environment. I don't have to make it a safe space for you to approach me. I just have to be approachable, and that's the thing. So I appreciate that very much, man. And the fact is, if you're driven by purpose, it's all cherry on top after that, dude. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you and your new ventures. And man, we're gonna collab on a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's great to sit down with you finally. We've been trying to do this for a
Yeah,
while.
brother.
All right, guys. Once again, it's been me and Cameron Uranga from Denali Loss Consulting and National Claims Advisors.